Hi everyone, I'm Aditi, co-founder at LawScott. Hope all of you are doing well at home. Welcome to LawScott's webinar series, session 13. Till everyone joins in, I'll let you all through the webinar guidelines. Kindly keep your audio and video off upon entry in the webinar. In case of any technical issues, you can leave a message in the chat box and someone from our team will help you out. If you get no response, kindly contact on the given number. Kindly keep a notepad and pen handy. Kindly ask your questions at the end of the session during the question session by turning your audio or video on or writing it in the chat box. Do not turn your audio on until asked by the speaker to do so. Do not create any kind of disturbance during the session. Do not circulate reading material as LawScott owns all rights over it. We will now start with the session. So the third session of the series is on the topic decriminalization of Section 377. Is it a movement towards an inclusive society? We are pleased to welcome two speakers for this session, Ms. Navjot Suri and Advocate Khushbu Natholia. Through this session, we will look into the origin of Section 377 IPC from the ancient period till date. We will have a look into its emergence through the US Constitution. The session will deal majorly with the history and evolution of Section 377 through landmark precedents in India, which will trace how the section was finally decriminalized by the Supreme Court. Finally, the session will shed light on the current status of the LGBTQ community in India and the challenges faced by them with respect to same-sex marriage, procreation, and adoption of children. We are delighted to get such an enthusiastic response, and we welcome you all to get connected with LawScott for the future as well. Hope to have an enriching and an insightful session. I will now welcome Vishnu, who will brief us about LawScott and our speakers for the session.
Good evening. My name is Vishnu Goyal, and I'm the founder of the website lawscott.in. And thank you, Aditi, for providing such a brief introduction about the webinar. Now I would like to tell you about our website. LawScott is the most advanced search engine for law-related institutions and events in India. It is also a great source for legal news, scholar articles, and latest legal updates. So you can always join with us on WhatsApp, our website, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, etc. On all social media platforms you are available, and you can get all the latest legal updates. You can also submit your own written blogs and articles on a website. Now, I would like to tell you about our speaker, a brief introduction about her. Ms. Navjot Suri, Assistant Professor Law, DME Noida, is a graduate and postgraduate from Amity University. She has completed her BA LLB from Amity University, Noida in the year 2015 and went to complete her Master's in Law, LLM, with specialization in Human Rights Law from Amity University, Noida. She is a gold medalist in BA LLB and LLM and holds an experience of 4 years in teaching. She has to her credit of several publications, and she has delivered expert lectures in numerous training programs, conferences, and seminars. Now for this lecture, especially, we have invited a guest speaker, Advocate Khushbu Natholia ma'am is NTA, NET qualified and pursuing her PhD from Banasthili Vidyapeeth, Rajasthan. She has done her post-graduation from Amity University, Noida in the year 2016 with specialization in family law. She has a work experience of almost 4 years. She has worked as an advocate for almost 2 years. She has appeared in various seminars and acted as a guest speaker in various webinars. In addition, she has judged various symposium and moot court competitions. Now, with this little introduction about our speakers, I would like to invite Navjot Suri ma'am to start with the session.
Thank you, Vishnu, for the warm welcome, as you always do. So today we are going to touch upon a topic. Just a minute, I'll just connect the PPT. Hello, I think there was some technical issue. Just a minute. Okay, is the PowerPoint presentation visible to all of you? Okay. So today we are going to touch upon a topic which is, I'll rather say, which is not something which is new. It has been there since ages. And particularly, I will be dealing with the historical background and the struggle which the LGBT community has faced till we got the first PIL instituted in High Court by NAS Foundation. So I'm going to touch upon the topics which we really get to listen, and we have not, thrown some light on that, on those issues. And I think that many of you, because when I was doing my research, I also got to know about few things which I have never heard, and I never thought that this would have been the situation earlier, so many years back. So the topic for today's session is decriminalization of Section 377. Is it a movement towards inclusive society? So if I am talking about a movement towards an inclusive society, I mean to say that we are somehow trying to establish a society which is inclusive of nature, which means that doesn't discriminate between people on the basis of race, gender, class, generation, anything else you can add into this, or you can say quality of opportunity as well. At if we talk about in case of status of employment, and to build a society which is capable of being treated equally at all levels, and they all agree to some set of social rules to be applied in the society, which benefit and works for the welfare of all the people. Now, if I talk about the Indian, lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender movement, it is, it is sort of a rainbow with many issues attached to it, in positive as well as with some negative insights. This movement is, gradually bringing the rights of the LGBT community to light, documenting and representing the rich diversity of genders and sexualities, that has existed in our Indian culture since thousands of years. Basically, this is a movement that advocates advocates that this sort of diversity, should be respected, and discrimination against the LGBTQ people should be stopped. Now, the biggest question which comes in front of us is that the rights of LGBTQ, the rights of the LGBTQ community we are talking about are they human rights? Yes, of course, because they are humans. So they have the right as the other humans have. We cannot do any discrimination, because if you read the opening words of UDHR, it states that all human beings are born free and are equal in dignity and rights. If you look at Article 2 of UDHR, that clearly states that whatever is stated in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, every right, every person is entitled to these rights and freedoms, without any distinction of any kind, such as race, color, sex, language, religion, political opinion, national or social origin or place of birth, property, status, caste, etc. Similarly, if we look at ICCPR, that is the International Convention on Civil and Political Rights, again there in Article 2, it is clearly stated that each state party who's party to this convention, present convention of ICCPR, has to respect and ensure to all its individuals that there will be, I mean, whatever rights have been stated in the convention will be there for everybody, each individual, even with respect to the people who are from minority, and there will be no discrimination, no distinction of any kind on the basis of race, color, sex, language, religion, and so on, which I've already stated above in case of UDHR. Now, if you look at the European Convention, there have been certain provisions which are again stating that the LGBT community have the right to be treated equal in the society. Article 14 of the European Convention clearly states that the enjoyment of rights and freedoms which are provided in this convention shall be everybody will be entitled, again, without any discrimination on the basis of race, religion, sex, color, language, etc. Now, the European Court has specifically defined the term other status. It says that the other status provision is basically to protect several new categories of individuals against discrimination. Though if we see, there has been very, slow progress towards recognizing sexual orientation as a new category, even in case, if we talk about India, because that legal recognition was given in 2000 and 2014 by the case of Nalsa versus Union of India, where the third gender was recognized by the Indian courts. Similarly, in case of European Court, this has been has come up with a very you can say slow process, but then nevertheless it has been regarded. I mean, it has been stated by the courts that they should be given proper legal recognition. Now they have somehow successfully have safeguarded their rights to different means. And even if you look at Article 8 of the European Convention, it talks about right to privacy. So where it states that everyone has the right to respect for his private and family life, his home, and his correspondence. So you can see this article is safeguarding the right to privacy right of everybody from the interference by any public authority. But it also states along with it that except such as in accordance with law and is necessary in a democratic society, the way we have Article 21 in the Indian Constitution, which we also, discussed in the session which was taken yesterday. So, if we come towards the provisions which are there in the Indian Constitution, first, the foremost thing is that we can look at our preamble of Indian Constitution, which states that it mandates justice, social, economic, political equality of status for all. So the right of equality before law and equal protection under the law is specifically guaranteed in Article 14 and 21 of the Indian Constitution. But then the preamble is basically saying what is the aim. So the aim is to provide justice to all, so socially, economically, and politically, and providing equality of status to everybody. So in which the LGBT community also comes in, because they are also humans. Now, moving on to the historical background, uh, this is not something which has just come up today, like it started in 2009 with NAS Foundation. No, there has been a long struggle, and this community has existed since I should say that since so long, that I think that when all together the society was formed and people started agriculture, and there was development in medieval era with the kingdoms and all, so it was there. It is not something that has just come up now. No, it has been there since ancient times. So during ancient times, if you see, the scriptures which are images of, you find images of women erotically embracing other women, men displaying their genitals to each other. If you visit Khajuraho, so in temples of Khajuraho, such images are found, and this is, the scholars have again and again explained this as an, acknowledgement that people were engaged, in homosexual acts. And you will be surprised to know that in Valmiki Ramayana, Lord Rama's devotee and companion Hanumanji is said to have seen Rakshasa women kissing and embracing other women. Then also at another place, the Ramayana itself tells the tale of a king named Dilip, who had two wives and he dies without leaving any heir. The story says that Lord Shiva appeared in the dreams of the two widowed queens and told them if they made love to each other, they would have a child. And through this dream, they decide and they engage themselves into making love, and one of them gets pregnant, and she gives birth to a child who went on to become the famous king of Bhagirath. Best known, you can say he's best known for having brought river Ganga from heaven to earth. Now there is one more interesting story which happened during the Mahabharata. It's a story about Shikandini, the feminine, or you can say the transgender warrior of that time. And she was responsible for the defeat and killing of Bhishma. Now, Shikandini was a daughter of King Draupada, who raised her as a prince to take revenge from the Kurus, basically the rulers of Hastinapur. The ones who have watched Mahabharata must be getting connected to this. Now, Draupada even got, Shikandini married to a woman, and after the marriage, and how it has gone and how we have come up with the final judgment. So I'll end here, and in the end, I'll take the questions. I'll request my co-speaker to start with her presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Navjot, for the background. Before I actually start with my presentation, I have to cover Suresh and Navdeep Singh Johhar's judgment particularly. So let me just give a brief about it before. Just give me 1 minute so that I can put on the presentation. Yeah. Is it visible? Okay. All right. So as she has already discussed about the historical background, so I will not be taking that again. But I would like to mention few points here before I actually come to the judgments involved in this particular case. Yes, homosexuality is something which is not a new concept. or which is not something which has emerged in India or in the foreign countries recently. Rather, it's a concept which is prevailing in India as well as in the world from ancient time. If as she discussed about Ramayana, Mahabharata, and all the instances in Manu Smriti and everything, at that point of time, I think people were more talking about it rather than people who came, rather than people talking about it after the enactment of Indian Penal Code, after it was being made as a penal offense. This particular provision, 377, wherein punishment was being imposed, this provision not only forced the homosexual people to live within a closet, but also infringed them of their various rights. So that is the reason that there was a need for these people to come out and to demand from the judiciary or from the society to accept these people as they are. Because this, if you see the heading of section 377, it says unnatural offenses. What do you mean by unnatural offenses, or the term unnatural in particular? Who are you to decide what is natural and what is not natural? If someone is born with a particular kind of particular type of sexuality, then is it not natural for that particular kind of a person? Or just because that is not acceptable by you and you are not broad enough to accept his homosexuality, you are going to term him as unnatural and make him or penalize him for the same? Well, she mentioned about the movie Shubh Mangal Zyada Savdhan. Yes, probably it is because of these movies or these film stars or high profile celebrities being attached to these people that these people are able to talk about themselves out in open, because they feel that they have a sense of belonging, they feel a sense of belongingness, or they feel that, okay, fine, someone is representing me, so probably now people are going to listen to me. Otherwise, if I, who is nobody, is going to stand out and talk, then people are not going to pay heed to it. Well, coming back to India, coming back to the legal provisions, the cases involved in the same, my friend already dealt with NAS Foundation. So NAS Foundation was actually the first case wherein these LGBT people came out in open to demand their rights. And this case did not let them down, and the court declared section 377 as unconstitutional in view of article 14, 15 and 21 of the Constitution. But this win did not last long because of the Suresh Kaushal judgment, which is again already dealt by my friend. This particular judgment was actually a turning point for these LGBT people, because the sense of belongingness which they felt after the NAS Foundation case, which was actually after ages of the incorporation of section 377, or the after a lot of hardship or discrimination or humiliation being faced by those people, before they could actually sink in the happiness, this judgment overruled that case, and it again held the acts as it again held those acts as penalizing and reinforced the punishment procedure for the same. But finally, the landmark judgment of Navtej Singh Johar. This judgment, which was referred to a 3-judge bench, and wherein the major prayer which was sought by the petitioner was to declare the right to sexuality, the right to sexual autonomy, the right to choose or to select their sexual partner to be a part of the right to life guaranteed under Article 21 of the Constitution of India. It was also prayed by the petitioner to declare Section 377 of the IPC to be unconstitutional with respect to the provision governing affecting homosexual. And this 3-judge bench referred this judgment to a larger bench, a 5-judge bench, and the judges 5-judge bench, which consists of CJI of India at that point of time, Justice Deepak Mishra, Justice Fali Nariman, Justice Chandrachud, Indru Malhotra, and A.M. Kamilkar. Well, before I discuss the judgment in particular, let's just have few. Let's just understand the background and the contentions which were raised by the petitioner and the respondent. The major contention raised by the petitioner was that that Suresh Kaushal judgment is infringing the right to privacy, right to equality of the homosexual or LGBT community in particular. It says that homosexual, though being minors in the community, but still they cannot be suppressed by the majority view, and this provision wherein you are criminalizing their sexual orientation is actually violating their right to choose, right to live freely, right to life and privacy, and is against the Constitution of India. The major contention raised by the respondent was that as far as the union submitted that as far as the constitutional validity of section 377 is concerned, it left it to the wisdom of the court. But they further added that other ancillary rights which has not been referred by the petitioner in this particular case, in this particular case should not be dealt by the benches, as the union would require more time to file their reply in consideration with those adjacent rights. Now, when I talk about the adjacent right, the major emphasis which was laid down by the respondent was that if you allow sexual orientation, if you allow this act of homosexuality, then it is gonna affect the institution of marriages, which in return is gonna affect all the matrimonial rights attached to it. So it is not only about 377 sexual orientation, but it is also about the rights adjacent to it. So as far as this particular provision of 377 is concerned, the union was ready to leave it to the wisdom of the court, but all the rights which will fall apart after decriminalizing this act, that was requested by the union that it should not be dealt by the union in this particular judgment, and will not and should not be taken up for consideration as of now. Now, the court the court referred to a lot of judgments, national and international, but I will just like to discuss few of them in brief. A very important judgment which was referred by all the judges was Nalsa judgment, wherein the court has emphasized on gender equality and social orientation. Nalsa judgment basically was a landmark judgment wherein transgenders were recognized as third gender. And it was a landmark judgment for the LGBT community because it helped them to gain their identity, to come out as they are. So this judgment was taken into consideration, and it was said that your gender identity and your sexual orientation need to be respected, your privacy need to be respected, and you cannot be discriminated for something for which for who you are. Now, after this judgment, the other important judgment referred was Puttaswamy judgment, whereas major emphasis was being held on privacy. What a person do inside a room, or what a person do with a consensual act cannot be questioned by another people until and unless it affects those people. So this particular judgment dealing with privacy, it said that sexual orientation is an essential component of rights which are granted under our Constitution of India. And just because a majority section, that is the heterosexual section, does not favor it, does not mean that you are going to stereotype those rights and you are going to infringe the rights of those minorities. Uh, while deciding the rights, while deciding the case, the emphasis should not be put on the social minority, the social morality. Rather, the emphasis need to be put on the constitutional morality. It's just the constitutional morality which is going to prevail, and not the majority of the society or morality which prevails in particular society. Because as we know, the society is ever changing, and that is the reason the constitution is not a static document. It is a progressive document, and this progressive documents approach was being dealt with in and dealt with beautifully in the judgment by all the 5 judges. Next important judgment was Mosley versus Newspapers Limited, wherein the emphasis for individual's freedom to conduct his sexual life and personal relationship as per his wishes was dealt with, and it was said that these can be subjected to and can be accepted or permitted for public interest, but that public interest cannot be based on society's thinking. It need to be based on according to the established principles of law, according to the rules prevailing in the society. And you cannot put on any exceptions on people just because they are in the minority section of the society. Similarly, there were 2 other important judgments wherein the right to choose, the right to marry was discussed in detail by the court. One dealing with Shakti Vahini versus Union of India, and the other with Shafeem Jahan versus Ashoka. What happened was, we must have heard about Khap Panchayats. So, it was a Khap Panchayat ordered for honor killing of the couple, and the Supreme Court protected those couples by saying that the Khap Panchayat has no business to intervene into someone's personal, intimate decisions of whom they want to marry and whom they do not wish to marry. If the people are, if the 2 individuals concerned in the marriage are adult and can think about themselves, then it is their right to choose their partner, and no one else can interfere in it. Similarly, in this other judgment, a writ of habeas corpus was filed by the father of the girl, asking her to take her back, and the court rejected the writ of this of the father and agreed and allowed the marriage which was being performed by the 24-year girl. And both these judgments, which dealt with right to choose a partner, it comes within the ambits of Article 19 and 21 and is an important feature of your right to dignity, your right to life, and right to privacy. And these were dealt in detail along with obviously other judgments by the court while dealing with this.
Okay, so we have a lot of questions. Starting with
Hello.
yes.
Hello, ma'am. Myself, Ankita. My question is, does such indulgence out of the marriage count as strong ground of divorce, or is it taken as in, adultery?
I'm sorry, can you please repeat your question?
Yeah. Does such indulgence out of the marriage count as strong ground of divorce, or is it taken as an adultery?
No,
Is it-
if such act is not a ground of divorce as such, but it takes an act of cruelty which becomes a ground of
Cruelty.
divorce. Yes, which becomes a
Exactly.
ground of divorce.
Cruelty.
You can call it as a mental cruelty.
Mental cruelty. Okay, ma'am.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right.
Okay, so we have a question from Prerna. Ma'am, how does the rights given to LGBT community in India different from that of foreign countries? So here I would like to throw some light. See, with respect to if I talk about the protection given to LGBT community in US or UK, they have particular legislations with respect to marriage of same-sex couples in and but with respect to recognizing the rights of the LGBT community particularly has been done through they don't have a specific provision in their constitution. Only there are few countries who have constitutionally recognized the LGBTQ rights, such as Britain and Malta, Bolivia, but other countries have only interpreted their rights or provided them rights through the judicial pronouncements. I hope the answer makes sense. And if you want to add something, Khushbu.
Yeah, I would like to add something here. When you talk about global comparison, right? Every country have their own historical developments. Whether it is America, it is Europe, it is India, or it is other countries in the world. They have their own history and own revolution, own developments. Europe was one of the first continents wherein these LGBT people came out, followed by America and other countries. How the rights are different is, as I told you while concluding itself, that the rights of these people are either recognized through the enactments or legislation, या जिसको हम law बोलते हैं, or they are being recognized by the judiciary. For example, in India, these rights are recognized by judiciary by allowing the couples to marry. Whereas in other countries, also, for example, America, rightly quoted, it is recognized by judiciary. So these, it depends. And the judiciary, for example, you must have heard about the first session of MAM, which dealt with Vishakha's case, wherein the judiciary lays guideline for the legislation. Similarly, herein also, when this judgment, Navtesh Singh Joh's judgment came out, it again went to the court, wherein it was said that you have not said anything about the same-sex marriage. And the court dismissed the petition by saying that it is a policy matter. So that means if I talk about India, it is left to the policy matter. It is left by saying it's a policy matter. It's left to the government to decide. As a court, they are only protecting your right by allowing you to marry and by making sure that you are not being punished for the offense like these. So this is the difference.
So basically, I think that there is no specific legislation as such for now in India.
Yeah.
But if we look at US and UK, they have got this
Yes.
specific legislation which is only there for marriage of same sex,
Yes.
couples.
Yes, yes.
And
They
one
have,
thing I like to add, on the opposite side, you will find countries like Sudan, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Yemen, and Iraq have death penalty for this.
yes,
So-
that's what I
Yeah.
said. That if you see the Arabic Islamic countries, they have penalties for it. They have death penalties for it. They have imprisonment for it. So when you go through the globe, you will see that this one particular small topic which deals with same-sex marriage or LGBT, it has been dealt with differently, and it is done according to their historical backgrounds, according to their society's development, right? When we dealt in India, when we dealt with this topic of sodomy, we refer to the developed countries' perspective on it. And probably when they will be dealing with this topic in future, so they will be also referring to these judgments and coming to a conclusion. But as of now,
Religion plays
religion
a
plays a
very...
very important role.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So let's
So we
take
have
the next
one
question.
more question for you, Khushbu, from Bodhisattva Acharya. It's in the chat box.
Yeah, I cannot
Yeah.
see that. I'm sorry. Can you read it if you can see that, because I need to search.
Yeah, for LGBT community, we still cannot marry, we still cannot adopt, you can adopt. We have many years before any of this. We have to remove this stigma in the current scenario. Can you imagine same-sex marriage while the Indian society is overcrowded by stupidity? Okay, so it's a little.
All right. When you talk about marriage, same-sex marriage, you can marry, but if you talk about the rights attached to it, you will not get those rights. You will have to go to the court, knock their doors to get your rights enforced. Coming to adoption. When you talk about adoption, yes, the same-sex couples cannot adopt in India according to the
There is only one way through which they can adopt, which is
That-
very less known to people. It is through the Juvenile Act.
Yes, even the Juvenile Act per se,
Yeah.
even the Juvenile Act per se do not, readily accepts this
But
particular
then you have
act
to
of
adopt the
adoption.
juvenile. You have to
Yeah.
adopt the juvenile. That is the thing. That is the only option available for them to go for
Yeah.
adoption.
Miss
cannot-
Khushbu,
Yes, sir.
actually my question is that our society is so open mind, is so bold thinking that we can openly arrange some marriages of same sex marriage, that we are inviting some people openly, and we book some big farmhouse that our daughters, our son is marrying with a man or marrying with a boy. So how it is possible?
So it is possible. People are doing that.
Basically, we have a lot of laws to protect our rights. We have courts to protect our rights. But what you will do against the society?
Wait, sir, that's what I said when I concluded that it is not about social morality. It is about constitutional morality. And as you said, if someone wants to marry, have a fat Indian wedding, that person is free to have it because the marriage is allowed by the judiciary. But it is your choice. If you want to do it, you can do it, and it is allowed by the judiciary. As far as the society is concerned, see, you cannot change the mind of the society. I cannot change the mind of the society. It is only they who can do that for themselves. So whether they are accepting or not accepting, that is their lookout, that is their forte, and we do not have a say on it. But as far as conducting a marriage is concerned, that is allowed. You can do it. And obviously, what can we do to change the society? We cannot do anything to change the society. We can do something but to change ourselves and our thinking, and every person if thinks in that way, I think the society will change automatically. We, as a member of the society, we can conduct awareness among the people by publicizing the judgments, by making them aware, giving them knowledge, because lack of knowledge is one of the major criteria that's hold the people back.
There was this question asked by a journalist to Nelson Mandela that despite of doing so many changes in the laws and everything, do you think that this will stop? How will you change the mindset of the people? So his answer was, let's stop talking about it.
Yeah, exactly. Leave people.
That's
Hello. You know, one thing, when the judgment came on 5th September, I think 5th September 2018, then so many debates were on news channels, and so many Orange Brigade was there to के हमारी सोसाइटी को भ्रष्ट करने के लिए जजमेंट आ गया है, ये क्या कर रहे हैं, क्या होने जा रहा है. तो जहां इतना बड़ा स्टिग्मा हो, वहां पे हम एक ड्राई डिबेट कर सकते हैं. अच्छा लगता है सुनने में. बाकी ड्राई डिबेट फॉर द मेंटल सेटिस्फेक्शन ऑफ द इंटेलेक्चुअल्स.
Sir, see, I would like to say something before you.
Please don't mind my words. लेकिन ये जो चीजें हैं ना, जब तक हम ठीक है, हम जो भी कुछ कर रहे हैं अच्छा कर रहे हैं, हमारी अपनी पर्सनल सेटिस्फेक्शन के लिए हो सकता है, लेकिन कुछ चीजें ऐसी हैं कि उसके लिए हमें लॉ की प्रोटेक्शन की बहुत सारी अभी जरूरतें हैं। कम से कम जहाँ पे हिंदुस्तान जैसी जगह जहाँ पे हम रह रहे हो वहां पे अगर इस तरह की चीजें हो, तो अगर आप देखें जहाँ ये पूरा नॉर्दर्न इंडिया में कुछ ऐसी जगह अगर इस तरह की चीज सोचे वहां उठा के गोली मार देते हैं लोग।
So that is what I'm
सोचना तो
saying.
बहुत ये
Wait, sir. That is what I'm saying. That when you talk about the rights, this judgment was the first step. Obviously, it cannot be that 100% people accept or is happy with the judgment. There is a particular section of the society which is happy. There is a particular section of the society which is not happy. And there is a particular section of the society which is neutral. So you cannot change the thinking in one night. It takes time, right? So how the people were thinking like 20 years before, they are not thinking the same abhi 10 years before, and the 10 years before wale are not thinking the same at this point of time. So it changes with time. And you as a person, you as in, I'm talking about the LGBT community in general, if they as a person, they fought for their rights, and that is how this judgment came. And still they have to fight for their rights, for the adjacent rights which they are doing. So it is that it is a process, it is going, it is happening. And yes, law is important. And that is what I'm saying, that either through the enactment of laws or through the enactment or through the judicial protection. They have got the judicial protection. That is the reason that
You
they
are right. You are absolutely right.
process. Yes, sir. So I think that's the question I have answered. So let's take few other questions if you please don't mind.
No.
Yeah, thank you.
It's okay. It's okay. Actually, I was the part of the production when the Lakshmi, Lakshmi, अगर आपने नाम सुना हो Lakshmi.
हाँ, बिल्कुल.
Yeah. So, and on the 5th September, I was there in Supreme Court, and the Miss Lakshmi was there, and we have. I was a part of some productions there. So, मतलब ये होता है कि हाँ, हम उनके सपोर्टर हैं, सब कुछ हैं, लेकिन फिर भी सोसाइटी के अंदर भी हमने थोड़ा सा अवेयरनेस के लिए हमें भी कुछ करना चाहिए, ताकि लोग कुछ सोचें कि हाँ भाई ये भी कोई चीज है, इसके लिए भी हमें कुछ सोचना चाहिए.
You are absolutely right. The first point which I would like to say, that the first foremost point which is important is that make them, we need to make people understand that they are not different. The society has themselves categorized them as different. So first of all, we need to make the society understand, which is a very difficult task. But then the way we have come towards this judgment, one day we'll be reaching to this position also, where they need to consider them as normal human beings. It's altogether something which is different. But then if it is not a disease, it is not something which is different. They are human beings. Who are they? If somebody asks me who's Lakshmi, I'll say she is a human being, or he is a human being. He or she भी लगाने की क्या जरूरत है? Human being है.
You are right.
That's fine.
देखिए ये तो सोसाइटी में जो उन्हें बेवकूफ मानते हैं वो खुद अपने आप में बेसिकली होता है कि हमारे सामने.
I have a lot of theories with respect to the negative side as well. When I go for discussions and all, I also come across questions in my classroom also, where students say, "You are not understanding, ma'am. This is a Western culture, and some people are becoming gays and lesbians just because they think that it is sort of a trend which is going on." So I come across such questions also.
Yes.
Yeah. So Tejas is asking, what about education opportunities for LGBT? Tejas, now the opportunities for LGBT is there as a, the way we go for the job, we can go, we can fill up the forms due to NALSA judgment. We have got this category where they've written male, female, and yeah. And so that is how the equality of opportunities there, which is granted to them with Article 16 of the Indian Constitution as well.
Okay,
then there's
one more question.
Abhishek Kaushal.
Okay, let me take one question addressed to me particularly. Ma'am, can
Yeah.
the neutralizing of laws help the LGBT community? Yes. But which laws? That's a question. When you talk about matrimonial laws, you have certain secular laws and you have certain religious laws. Yeah, personal laws जिसको हम बोलते हैं. So making amendments or changes in personal law, I think can be tricky, can be something which will not be accepted at this point of time by the society. But we can have certain amendments in the secular or in the secular laws. For example, you can have certain amendments in Special Marriage Act if you want to get your marriage being considered under that. Because even Special Marriage Act, the main motive of Special Marriage Act was because the societies were not ready to guarantee the marriage right or to accept the rights of accept the people of different religion marrying. That was a stigma at that point of time, for which SMA came into picture and it protected them. And today, when that is something, if I talk about that stigma, it is like, array, that's okay. And today, the special marriage, the same-sex marriage is a stigma. So if we incorporate, or if might incorporate it there or through some other legislation, and probably after 20 years when we'll be talking about same-sex marriage, it's like, array, it's normal. So this is how the time changes, and neutralizing of laws can be done, but you really need to take into consideration as to your matrimonial laws, because there are a lot of societal pressure and religious and customs and uses attached to it, and it becomes a bit difficult to change them. So instead of pinpointing them, we can come to a conclusion which is amicable and which is not being opposed by the society in that ratio. Okay, ma'am, you can take the next question.
Okay, there's this question by Abhishek Kaushal. Ma'am, Section 8, Clause 1 of the Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Act 2019 states the appropriate government shall take steps to secure full and effective participation of transgender persons and their inclusion in society. I would like to ask, what could be such steps that government could take? See, so there can be a lot of awareness programs. I think that this should start from the school level itself. The awareness programs should start from the school level. Or every individual of the society needs to be trained in a manner where, since his school time, he's told that this sort of I must say human being is not different, and they should be treated equal. And they should be, I'll just share an example. Whenever there is something good happening at your home, there is some occasion, some marriage or childbirth, and whenever they come to bless you, there is an altogether different look which is given by the people, and
Right.
they try to tell their kids to go inside. You don't need to watch it, you go inside. So I think at school level, the awareness programs should start. The government should initiate such programs, and through different virtual modes, they can do that. And they can start, telling the small kids that, they are the part of the society. They have to be treated equally. So that is what can be done. And if you look at Section 8 of this Act, it states that the main purpose of organizing these awareness program is to promote and protect the right of transgender persons to participate in cultural and recreational activities. So we can have programs, they can have awareness programs which are organized by them only.
Yes.
Through, for example, through the theater medium. And if you have seen, I saw this on Kapil Sharma show, that there is this entire group who's leading a band. And they all sang so well. So such kind of opportunities should be given, that on certain occasions they can be invited to perform. That's all.
I think everyone has opportunity, but how do you take that opportunity makes difference. You are like, we are talking about transgender, ma'am. How means what? They will do it with their hard work. They will do it with their dedication. And okay, if I may ask the audience, do you know that we have a transgender judge, the first transgender judge, who is lot in news? So it is just that we see one side of a picture, and no one can help you to, uplift yourself unless you do it. You do it with the help of education. The government is there to give you opportunity. But what if you are ready to beg on the road and not? Why only transgender? Even normal male, female, children, they are begging. Does that mean that they do not have opportunities? So it is just.
I think Khushbu, whoever is participating and asking questions, I think you can do something.
Yes.
And how you can do it? Because I visited this NAS Foundation. I've personally been connected with them, and I met so many people from this community, and they served me food, tea. I had a talk with them, and I didn't feel any difference. It was very normal, because I myself went with a you can say mindset.
Yeah, exactly.
I am meeting some human being, not somebody who's different. We don't have to feel petty for them. Like Bakul, you have asked question, ki still they are not treated well. The first treatment which we can give is to treat them equal, to treat them normal.
So
next time when you're talking to them, you have to talk in a way you're talking to a human being. That's it.
And I want to add something out here. A lot of time we keep on asking, kya kare? What should be done? What should be done? There is no law. Even if there is law, it is not the law only which is going to make difference. What is going to make difference is your education, your awareness, and your acceptance of the fact. Why only people, we are talking about some people, they will not understand society. Do you understand? Like you in the sense, anyone out there, do you understand? What is your reaction when you see these transgenders or these bisexual people coming out? Or because we are able to make difference, right? That okay, fine, he's a trans or he's a gay or he's a lesbian. How do you treat them? So that is what makes difference. Your mindset makes difference. And that is how we can bring a difference in the society, if we start accepting things as they are and we are not judgmental for them. And I think that's all. That's the least and the maximum we should do.
I would like to also add, I would like to end that love is blind. It's not about only sexual intercourse or sexual pleasure. It is something is there. Other than that, that is love. And love is blind. It can happen with anybody, anytime, any moment.
There's still a lot of questions popping up with, ma'am, how to make the difference. So this, I think we have exceeded the time limit.
We've exceeded the time. We've taken all the questions.
All the questions. Yeah.
I think Vishnu, you can conclude.
Yeah, ma'am. So Aditi will address the audience first.
So a great session. Thank you so much, both the speakers. Thank you everyone for attending this session. We were delighted to get such a lovely response this time and such an interactive session. It was really enlightening. Kindly take the quiz based on today's session and fill in the feedback form, which will be sent to you on your respective mails and in the chat box as well. Vishnu, can you please take over now?
Yeah. So our upcoming sessions are on 30th May 2020 and 31st May 2020 from 4 p.m. onwards on the topic Article 21 of Indian Constitution and concept of public interest litigation. So it is like connected to these two sessions of this weekend. So I would request if anybody of you is interested and they want to extend their knowledge in this field, they should particularly enroll for this session at the earliest as the slots are filling. The registration link for the same has been given in the chat box. This is the collateral for the next session and the schedule of the webinar if anybody want to refer to it. And lastly, I would like to invite Mr. Gaurav Bharti, Assistant Professor, to give his valuable feedback as he has been actively participating in this webinar series.
Thank you, Vishnu sir. Can you listen me properly?
Yeah.
हाँ सर, विष्णु सर सबसे पहले तो बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आपका और टीम लॉ स्क्वाड का कि इस लॉकडाउन के टाइम पे आप हम लोगों को ये मौका दे रहे हैं कि हम अपने नॉलेज को गेन कर सकें। हम सभी भी एकेडमिक पर्सन जितने भी हैं, चाहे एकेडमिक पर्सन हों, स्कॉलर्स हों, स्टूडेंट्स हों, मतलब जो भी लॉ फैकल्टीज या लॉ मेंबर्स हैं, तो उनको बड़ा प्रॉफिट हो रहा है आपके इन कार्यक्रमों से। मैं बस यही कहना चाहूंगा कि आप महाभारत के संजय का रोल अदा कर रहे हैं हमारी लाइफ में, कि हम अपने घर पे बैठे हुए हैं और हमें लॉ का बहुत ही अच्छा नॉलेज मिल रहा है। थैंक यू नवजोत मैम, थैंक यू खुशबू मैम,
Thank you so much, sir. Your words have, you know,
यस मैम,
और जान डाल दी है नेक्स्ट 2 सेशंस के लिए।
मैम मैं तो कुछ भी नहीं हूँ, मैं बस थैंक यू खुशबू मैम। मैम मैं यही कहूंगा कि बहुत अच्छा नॉलेज मिला है और मैं जब भी सुन रहा हूँ, टाइम कम मिल पाता है क्योंकि और भी काम रहते हैं, लेकिन पूरी कोशिश करता हूँ कि विष्णु सर और टीम लॉ स्क्वाड ने जो ये एक मौका दिया है, मैं उसको पूरी तरीके से अपने अंदर ले सकूं। और नवजोत मैम, खुशबू मैम, आज बहुत अच्छा एक्सप्रेशन दिया। मैं आपको अपनी तरफ से, और अब मैं उन्नाव यूपी का रहने वाला हूँ और यहाँ के जितने भी हमारे स्टूडेंट जो सुनते हैं, मैं उनको सुनाता हूँ जाके, तो उनकी तरफ से आप सभी को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देता हूँ। और कल ईद उल फित्र है, मैं आप सभी को तहे दिल से मुबारकबाद देता हूँ और आप ऐसे ही काम करते रहें, आपका एक्सीलेंट जॉब है। और जब भी मुझे मौका मिलेगा मैं जरूर आपसे क्वेश्चन करूंगा, हालांकि अभी कहीं ना कहीं बहुत कम मानता हूँ अपने आप को। फिर भी मैम थैंक यू वेरी मच, थैंक यू वेरी मच मैम, थैंक यू विष्णु सर, थैंक यू टीम लॉ स्क्वाड।
Thank you, Gaurav ji, for such a valuable feedback. And I hope everyone of you is liking these sessions. And thank you for joining. And again, you are joining these sessions in the lockdown period, and it shows that how dedicated you are towards learning. So, and again, thank you to our speaker, Ms. Navjot Suri and Khushbu Natholia ma'am.
Thank you.
For being such a nice audience, everyone. Thank you. See you at the next session.
I think there was this question asked by somebody about the Burglary Act. I have posted the answer, okay? Yeah, okay. I think he was Tejas. Tejas, I've posted the answer. You can see in the chat box. Okay, see you everyone. See you in the next session. Thank you, Vishnu.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.